17 minutes past 12 on BBC Radio Guernsey. Now, I'm sure lots of us love a little bit of art. I know I do, especially when it has a local aspect to this. Well, Joseph Mallard William Turner was a painter in the 16th and 17th century and had found inspiration in Guernsey after coming here. Well, I went down and spoke to 4 international artists who are taking part in the Finding Turner exhibition. Let's meet the first one.
My name's Merlyn Chesterman, and I'm one of the artists in this show. I was invited last May, and I was here for 10 days or so, and taken around Guernsey and Herm and Sark, and then I had until last month to come up with the work for the show.
You've obviously been captured by some elements of our beautiful landscape in the bailiwick. Can you tell me a little bit about these pieces?
Yes, I am interested in the natural world, so I chose to reflect the sea and the islands and the rocks and the geography, whereas some of the other artists have gone the other way and just done the buildings. So the balance is fantastic in this show because we're all so diverse.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does it feel for you to be a part of this and celebrating Turner and also the other artists who are featured amongst the works like yourself?
Well, I feel very honoured to be here and to be chosen. And interestingly, there's an artist that's connected with Guernsey, a Russian artist called Oleg Mikhailov, and he had seen my work in China, where he had been doing a residency, and I've also done that residency, and so he mentioned my name to the directors here, and then they got in touch with me. So it was a lovely story, really, quite, global.
Hearing from that, then, your art takes you all around the world. You must have seen some incredible things.
Yes, it does, actually. I grew up in Hong Kong, so I have an affinity with Asia anyway. So, and also woodcuts are Chinese and Japanese, but primarily Chinese technique. So I couldn't really find a teacher in England, so I went to study in China on 3 or 4 occasions. But also I have been... It's a wonderful world of residencies. You can go and work in different parts of the world. And this year I'm going to Colorado, for example, to do a big print with a shared print with a couple of other people. I'm very lucky. And just to be here tonight is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm interested by the woodcuts, actually, because what we've got here is some lovely crisp lines, actually, and some very beautiful colours that very complement each other. Can you tell us about how that process works?
Certainly. I started with a drawing, and I looked at Turner very closely before I started doing these series of prints, because I wanted to, I was influenced by him, and I wanted to be influenced by his way of seeing the world, and his drawings are marvellous. So I thought, well, can I do a drawing and turn it into a woodcut? Can I cut a drawing? So I went out sketching, as in these pieces here, went out sketching, drew onto soft paper, thin paper, turned it over, stuck it down onto a block, and then cut the block, cut the drawing. So this one, I've just cut the black here, and then I print that onto another piece of wood, and I cut some colours, and then the background here is another piece of wood with a plain graded colour from yellow through to pink, and then another layer which is an old piece of shuttering ply or something, pretty rough bit of wood, that I thought had the look of water to it. So I've used that in these 3 pieces.
That's so clever, isn't it? So it's the texture of the wood that's creating
because
this.
It's a natural thing like water, and often the wood grain looks like water. So I cut out a piece that I particularly like, but you can see that's a knot in the wood, and it almost looks like the moon or the sun, doesn't it?
It was beautiful, by the way, and it's available to see at the Art for Guernsey Gallery. That was Merlyn Chesterman, one of the artists taking part in the Turner exhibition. Opened earlier this week, available for public viewing now. Very exciting. We're going to be hearing from more of the artists as well involved in a few moments. Let's hear now from another artist who's exhibiting at the new Finding Turner exhibition. That's at the Arts for Guernsey Gallery in Mill Street in town. Each of the artists, they had a residency, basically. It's 4 different artists from all over the world, had a residency last year to try and capture the essence of Guernsey being influenced by Turner. And actually, what's really interesting as well is they've all taken place influenced by the same places that Turner did all those years ago.
Hi, my name's Charlie McFarley. I'm an artist here at Art for Guernsey for the Finding Turner show. I completed a residency last year, and I've had some time to paint loads of paintings, and I got busy.
Had you visited Guernsey before your residency?
Yes, I had. I'd been, I think, during my residency was the 4th time I'd been to Guernsey, so yeah. But I hadn't seen much of it until the residency. I'd been here on jobs and been in and out, and then the residency I got to see all of the places I've missed, basically.
So how did the residency come about then?
I was invited by David Hummels. I'd worked for Art for Guernsey before, and then they thought, I think the other 3 artists had been chosen already, and I was sort of the last cog in the machine, and all our artwork has really sort of bounced off each other.
Yeah, it's really nice actually to see in this exhibition how all of the artwork complements each other. They're all different styles, and yet there's a theme that runs throughout. How have you been influenced by Turner's works to put on the art that we're seeing on display here?
I think with Turner's work, it's all about atmosphere. And with my work, I usually work in spray paint on a big scale, so I'm used to putting things down quite quickly, and this gave me a chance to work a little bit harder on my artwork and spend a bit more time and convey the sort of colours and the atmosphere that he tries to capture as well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of colours, we're stood in front of, I've got to say, probably one of my favourite pieces in the exhibition. Actually, it's called Linear Sunrise in Sark. Can you, in your view, Charlie, can you just tell us a little bit about this piece?
I got advised to go for a sunrise in Sark in a certain spot, and I think I got lost because where I was just around the headland and the sun was just out of sight. But I was sitting in the most amazing spot with loads of rocks and loads of sea, and it was very calm. So I took that as my sort of sunrise session, and I tried to paint it.
And it's interesting here because the colours are so vibrant. You know, when you think of spray painting, that sort of almost neon style to it, you very much capture that. But what I'm noticing here as well is the sort of the block brush strokes. Why did you decide to use that rather than going with something maybe a bit finer, for example? And also these sort of blocks in the background here. Can you tell me a bit about that?
I think I was playing around with the blocks of the rocks. They're sort of colourful blocks. I painted them in all in one stroke. Which is not usually what I do. I'm usually a bit more clean and crisp. So I think this one was the most fun I had of painting. So I sort of just knocked it out quickly, and then I spent a lot of time finishing it.
Do you think actually, you know, having opportunities like this to be an artist in resident and going and travelling to places and seeing different sites and capturing your interpretation of the essence of what that is, have you learned something that will evolve the way that you make art in the future, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing I'm taking from this, is that I've been pushed beyond my comfort zone with what I usually make, and I've created a new style of working that I'm actually really surprised by and happy with. So it's definitely going to push me to creating this kind of work in the future.
Yeah. And the turnout here, let's be honest, is pretty good actually. It's a busy room that we're in at the moment.
Very busy.
How does it feel to know that, because obviously this has been at least a year in the making, this, with the artists who've come over to Guernsey to put their work together. How does it feel knowing that, it's finally here, it's finally on display for people to come and see?
Yeah, it's a great feeling knowing that so many people are interested in what our interpretation of what Turner saw in Guernsey. It shows that there's such an appetite in Guernsey for people to see new artwork. It's great.
That's Damon Kowarsky on his art piece that he created for the Finding Turner exhibition. We've got some... oh, no, sorry, that was Charlie Farley. Charlie McFarley. I do apologise. We've got Damon coming up actually very soon, but Charlie McFarley was talking about his piece that he's created inspired by William Turner. Really interesting piece, by the way. It's his style is typically sort of like spray paint style, and the interesting way that he kind of used this block painting style to capture this beautiful essence of the bailiwick. It really is stunning. Definitely worth a head down to the gallery, by the way, to check out this new exhibition. Steph loves art museums, and I've been telling you all about my visit down to Art for Guernsey and their exhibition that they hosted. It's open now. It's all about Finding Turner, the artist. They're celebrating they've had a wonderful array of artists who've come from all across the world, actually, who've had a residency and have created some wonderful pieces inspired by Turner. Well, our next artist has actually come from all the way over the other side of the world.
So my name's Damon Kowarsky. I'm a printmaker and artist from Melbourne, Australia. I was here last year in June, where I made all the drawings that this work has grown out of, and then I've just come back now for the exhibition.
Oh my gosh, are you jet-lagged at all?
No, because I got to London on Thursday. It's only a 24-hour flight. I mean, it's not really that far.
Only the furthest place you could possibly travel from, but it's lovely to have you back here as well. For you, what's it like to be back in Guernsey?
Well, I'm quite surprised how familiar things are. So I was walking out on the west coast today and it was like, oh, I know this place, and it was actually very nice to see stuff that I'd seen, even though I'm a visitor, and to come back to it.
Tell me how you got involved in being one of the artists in residence for this display.
Yeah, so a Russian printmaker, Oleg Mikhailov, who I worked with in a studio in China, put my name forward. So he's been here a couple times. He did the Victor Hugo project a couple years ago, and he recommended me, and then they invited me to come and work on the Turner project.
It sounds like then within the art world there's quite a lot of collaboration, recommendations. It's quite, I suppose, is it quite a tight-knit community?
Well, certainly printmaking is. Printmaking is really particular in that people have to go to studios to work. It's very hard to have a studio at home. So when you go to a studio and you meet artists and you learn and you make friends, and then when opportunities come up, you find people who you like and you bring them into it.
So I think as well, you were talking about print work. Why is it print work that you choose as your medium of artistry?
Yeah, so when I started studying art, I did a foundation course which had printmaking and painting and sculpture and ceramics, and I really liked printmaking. It just felt very natural. In the way some people who pick up a violin and just that's what they want to do, printmaking was very, very instinctive to me. It's also a really nice medium in that you're producing original work, but there's 12 copies. So 12 people get to enjoy it. It's very democratic. And also, because I travel a lot, you can put it under your arm, roll it in a tube, take it on a plane, come to Guernsey, have an exhibition. And that's much harder to do than, say, with bronze sculpture.
I know you were here last June, and obviously taking in a lot of the I suppose it's the land, it's the sort of the buildings and the panoramas that have seemed to have captured you most, actually.
So I mean, Turner is very much a painter of land and sea and sky, and he was at particular places in Guernsey. So I went to those places where he had drawn. I didn't necessarily draw exactly what he drew, but it was taking inspiration for his work, and then in addition to that, I went to all sorts of other places that I found interesting. And of course, the city of St. Peter Port is lovely, and it also has the great advantage that you can get out on the pier and look back at it. Some cities, it's very hard to get a little bit of distance so that you can draw or see a panorama, but St Peter Port you very much can.
Have you got a favourite place in St Peter Port?
Well, lots of places. I mean, a really kind of hidden place that I liked was the area around Burnt Lane, where you've got this great view down across the houses, and there's a valley, and then up the other side. So it's a mix of architecture and sky, and then the trees poking through. So that was something that I just came across and really liked.
What's lovely about this as well is obviously this, for the residents of Guernsey, we look at this in front of us, this panorama that we've got here, and we go, I know that building, I know exactly where that is, I know where you're standing, my house is over there. How does it feel to be able to capture that and show the beauty of what Guernsey is? And you know, this is a collection of a community, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's actually really exciting, because when I'm drawing, I'm only seeing what's in front of me. I don't know these stories, but people come to it with their histories and their local knowledge. I mean, in the picture you're talking about, there's 4 little spires, and I didn't know what they were, but I found out much later it's Elizabeth College. So I wasn't trying to draw Elizabeth College or the significant places, but they're there, and I saw them and I drew them, and then people come back to me with their histories.
That's Damon Kowarsky on his art piece that he created for the Finding Turner exhibition. We've got one more artist to share with you in just a few moments. We've been hearing a lot about the Finding Turner exhibition this afternoon, opening at the Art for Guernsey Gallery on Mansell Street. Well, here's our final artist. So impressive, by the way, who I spoke to at a private viewing on Tuesday night.
I'm Gideon Summerfield. I'm one of the artists at the Turner exhibition, and I'm now a Bath-based artist. I've just moved from London. Excited to finally show my work amongst these very esteemed other artists, and it's been fascinating to see how each of us have approached the landscape that Guernsey, Sark and Herm have offered us over the last few months.
Yeah, this has been a work in progress for the last couple of months to years, actually. Tell us how you got involved in this.
Well, I was privileged to be asked by Art for Guernsey, Jock and David, to be part of this, to respond to the landscape inspired by Turner, who visited here, I think, a couple of times some time ago, and I can see why he loved it so much, and recorded the views that he did, the atmosphere, the drama. So I've tried my best to sort of give my own take on it, but also to have him in mind, and to allow people to view what I have seen, and to record it through art and colour.
And this as well, this picture that we're standing in front of at the moment, this is called Final Hour in Petit Port. Now, how have you taken influences from Turner to translate into what we're looking at here?
Sure. So I think in this particular one, in the sort of sepia version, I know that Turner really loved doing his black and whites, his drawings in situ, and to try and capture every sort of element of a view and the drama of it. So the view that we see in front has got quite a few layers, and I've picked out quite carefully the way that I've tried to record the marks in describing the landscape, from the foreground, the middle ground to the background, and viewing the very sharp rocks in the distance, which are then peeking out of the ocean, the sea, beyond.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned from your time capturing the essence of the bailiwick of Guernsey? And will you be taking any of that forward in your work?
It's a curious question. I'm actually predominantly a portrait artist, so to turn my way of thinking and actually looking has been really life-changing, and I will certainly be taking on the things which I have learned, whether it's trying to get the sensitivity of the landscape, again with the colours, the time of day, and I think also giving a landscape a personality, much how I would treat a portrait and a person that I was trying to record and describe.
why do you think it's important to have events like this that celebrate Turner's influences on artists moving forward?
Sure, I think actually, I mean, he was a terrific artist, one which people are, today are incredibly inspired by and talk about enormously. So I think what's wonderful is that artists in the contemporary world can respond to the same landscapes and can be inspired by what he saw. But I think to celebrate Turner on a very significant birthday, 250 years, is tremendous. He had such a way of seeing and working and drawing and travelling all over the world, and so how brilliant is it to recognise the work that he did in Guernsey, in such a small island, and to give it that kind of recognition that it deserves. So I feel very honoured to sort of fall in that kind of footsteps and to try my best to record what I can in my own way.
Is it nice to be back in Guernsey?
Oh, absolutely. I had such a magical experience, not only because my grandmother and my father in their lives they visited Guernsey and Sark and Herm, and they always described me as a very special place, and I had known it. So at times it was quite emotional to see where they had been and actually to see why they loved it, and I could see why they loved it. So actually it's just for me recording a time in my life and a time in history as well. And so when I look at and reflect at these drawings, I will always remember my special time here, and I'll instantly be taken back to the memories that I had and experiences. And I hope through the artwork I've created, people can enjoy them and respond well and experience their own sort of feelings from them.
Well, Gideon, I know you're quite in demand as an artist, shall we say. I know you've created works for the King. I hear that Elton John has some of your pieces.
Well, not Elton John. I don't know who you mean.
I was told Elton John by a birdie.
Who knows where my art has reached that I'm not aware of. But yes, it has been a very exciting time since the coronation. I've had wonderful commissions and work that has come from it, and including this one, to be able to travel as a young artist to experience new things has been a dream. I'm still very young. I have plenty to learn, so to be amongst all these amazing and sort of well-established artists as well, and to learn from them, to talk about art and techniques and processes, I feel utterly inspired. But big things ahead, which I'm excited for, also perhaps relating to royalty and future exhibitions, which I think a bit too early to mention now, but I'm excited for. So I hope people will wait for that to happen. Who knows? Yeah. Lot to reveal.
That is a name we're going to be seeing a lot of, I think, in the coming future. That was Gideon Summerfield. We also heard in this hour as well from Damon Kowarsky, Charlie McFarley and Merlyn Chesterman, who are displaying their work as well on the work based on Turner. You can see it at Art for Guernsey's gallery on Mansell Street if you want to have a look at the exhibition, which is open now.